Hi everyone, I hope you all have been enjoying the piano videos. I'm back with another edition of the American Chess Magazine puzzle calendar. Let's get into the puzzles. This was the puzzle for April 24th. It was composed by Salvador Blasco in the year 2021. Again, all the puzzles in this series are white to move, mate in 2. If you want to try to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. For me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 5 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 4.5 out of 5. The difficulty of this puzzle really depends on what you start looking at first, because there's a million odds and ends, like white can try to mate in a bunch of different ways, but you have to see the opponent refutation for each of them. So one idea is to, of course, give a discovery check with the rook, but the problem is that moving the knight away allows the king to escape to d4. Another idea is to try to give a check along the c file, so like maybe starting with rook takes h8. The problem with this one is that black can simply go here, and the c file is blocked securely. Trying to go through the c file through the other way, rook h1, rook c1, doesn't work because black can block through rook c2. Other ways to potentially try to give mate are trying to support pawn to b4. King takes a5 looks very hopeful with the idea of b4 checkmate. And it's hard to see what black can do to defend because the king can't run away. But once you look closer, you see that black has rook b2, and after b4, this isn't mate in 2 anymore. So sadly, king takes a5 with the idea of supporting b4 doesn't work. Also, knight b7 check is an idea, and in order to make that work, you would have to try to prevent king to c6. So one possible move is rook to g6, but the problem is rook takes a8 check. If rook h6, then the problem here is that black can play something like rook takes h7, and after knight b7, black simply takes. White doesn't have mate in 2. Finally, the last way to support knight to b7 mate is by playing bishop to d5. And the idea is still knight b7, but black has the same refutation, which is rook takes h7, and white doesn't have mate in 2 anymore. So after seeing this, I was like kind of stumped. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Then I went back to my first idea. What if I try this discovered check and somehow control the d4 square? I rejected this in the beginning because I didn't see an easy way to guard d4, but then it struck me like, oh my gosh, I wasted a bunch of time. Knight b5 is the best move. It conveniently gets rid of this knight, which was hanging another problem of moving the knight away, and it guards the d4 square. And now white is threatening knight to d4, and this is actually not stoppable by black. For example, if rook takes g8 with the idea that after knight b4, black can block with rook to g5. Here, white has the option of playing knight to g7 mate, because this knight is controlling both of these escape squares, and the knight blocks the rook. Rook to g2 fails to knight g3, again blocking the rook from blocking along the 5th rank. Black can also try bishop to d8, but then that runs into knight e7. Bishop d2 runs into knight e3. This is actually a very pretty interference puzzle. This is the puzzle for April 25th. It was composed by Alessandro Fasano in the year 2000. Again, if you want to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. For me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 4 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 5 out of 5. Here, queen a5 check is the most obvious move, the check that draws your attention the most, but the problem is that this d4 pawn is hanging and white doesn't have mate in 1 here. So in order to guard this pawn, the easiest way, because e3 doesn't work, black just takes, the easiest way is to move this knight away and allow the bishop to guard the pawn. And the knight has many squares. I just picked one at random, knight takes c4. And it looks like black has no defense because the rook is pinned, so it can't make this capture. Black's king can't run away. If bishop to a4, then white still has rook c5 mate. But black has this really, really sad defensive move, queen to e7. Now, if queen a5, the queen just blocks, and if rook c5, queen takes, and white doesn't have mate in 2. This is like the only defensive move for black, and it's really annoying. So white has to somehow prevent this, and knight f7 is the next logical move because you're preventing the queen from getting to e7. The problem here is that the rook is no longer being pinned, and now it's the rook's turn to block on c5. Therefore, the correct answer is knight to g6, definitely a hard move to consider. Here, white is threatening queen a5. There's no queen e7 because knight takes e7 is mate. The rook is pinned to the king. And after knight g6, black has no other way to stop queen a5 because white is also threatening rook c5 in the case of bishop to a4. So for today, April 26th, it was composed by Giorgio Miri in the year 2001. Again, if you want to solve this puzzle for yourself, then go ahead and pause the video here. For me, this puzzle had a difficulty rating of 4 out of 10 and a satisfaction rating of 5 out of 5. Again, here it really depends on which move you start looking at first. Obviously, black's pieces on the king side are like kind of useless. They're mostly there for decoration at this point. What the main thing that White's trying to do is bring the queen in to give mate, preferably somewhere close to the king. And this is because the queen is the most powerful piece. It has the most maneuverability, so it's most likely to be able to give mate. Trying to promote doesn't really work because, I mean, even if you promote, so what? Like, first of all, black has this check. Second of all, even if you promote, black can block in a bunch of ways. So promoting isn't the right way. White has to try to bring their queen in. So the queen can go here, 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 try to give a variety of mates. Queen a3 definitely looks very hopeful, threatening queen to e3 mate. And ideas of knight to d5 and queen d3 also is mate. Here the problem is, though, that these black pieces that were sleeping on the queen side before suddenly come in and start to play defense. For example, after knight to f1, this bishop guards f3, the knight guards e3, this knight guards d3, white doesn't have mate in 2. Queen to c5, threatening queen to e5 checkmate is also very nice. It's also potentially threatening queen to c6 in some cases. But the problem is that black can play knight d5, blocking the 5th rank, and now queen takes c6 isn't even a check. After knight d5, white here does not have mate. Therefore, the correct answer is queen to d6. And the idea is that white's threatening queen e5, queen takes c6 still. Now knight d5 doesn't block the queen, so this is mate. Black also has a variety of other defenses, especially involving the pieces on the queen side. For example, knight to g4, guarding the e5 square. This move fails to white being able to play the move not queen takes c6 because black can block. But here what white should do is queen takes f4 because the knight blocks their own rook, which was guarding the knight on f4. Black can also try knight to g6, same way of trying to guard e5, but this again fails to queen takes c6 mate. And here, black has no other defenses, so white will be giving mate in 2. So those are the puzzles for this half week. There was a lot of kind of order involved. If you happen to stumble upon the right answer first, if you considered it first, then the puzzles might have seemed a bit easier, or vice versa, they might have seemed harder if you started from the wrong move. But I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you enjoyed my content, please like and subscribe, and that's all for today. Bye!